All right, let's dive right into this explainer and absolutely shatter the age-old myth that a calorie is just a calorie, no matter when you eat it. For decades, we've been told that weight management and metabolic health are just a simple math problem, calories in versus calories out, right? Well, emerging science is painting a vastly different and, frankly, a much more fascinating picture. It turns out the actual timing of your meals might be just as crucial as what is actually on your plate.
So picture this. You sit down to the exact same plate of food, let's say a nice, balanced, hearty meal. You've got the exact same ingredients, same portion size, same macronutrients, the whole shebang. But you space these identical meals 12 hours apart. You eat one at 8 a.m. and the other at 8 p.m. How exactly does your body handle it? Well, you'd probably assume that 1,000 calories at breakfast is processed exactly the same way as 1,000 calories at dinner, right? But guys, that is exactly where our biology throws us a massive curveball.
Here's the deal. In the morning, your body acts like a highly active factory. It's gearing up for the day ahead, so it takes those calories and actively invests them, bulking up your muscles with glycogen. And that's the primary energy reserve you need to just, move around. Your muscles are incredibly sensitive to insulin in the morning, meaning they rapidly pull blood sugar right out of your bloodstream. But at night, it's a totally different story. Your body acts like a warehouse shutting its doors for the evening. It fully expects you to sleep for the next 12 hours. So instead of burning that fuel, your muscles become relatively insulin resistant, and your body essentially decides to just store those evening calories as fat.
Now check out this mind-blowing statistic. Your body actually burns 50% more calories digesting the exact same meal in the morning compared to the evening. 50%. Researchers at Harvard actually tested this by randomizing people to eat identical meals at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And they even controlled for things like simulated night shifts versus day shifts. And get this. Regardless of their activity level or their sleep cycle, that morning meal consistently burned 50% more calories just during the processing phase. Literally no extra exercise required.
So what's driving all of this? Well, our biology is governed by something called chrononutrition. Basically, this is the science of how our internal circadian rhythm, our 24-hour biological clock, dictates our metabolic efficiency throughout the entire day. Your internal clock directly influences your hormone release, your insulin sensitivity, and even your digestive enzyme production. We are quite literally biologically primed to digest, process, and utilize food at peak efficiency when the sun is up and progressively less so as it gets dark.
And this whole idea builds directly into a really cool concept called diet-induced thermogenesis. Don't let the fancy name fool you. This is simply the energy it costs your body just to break down, absorb, and dispose of the food you eat. It's essentially the cost of doing business for your digestive tract. Because your body is actively stringing glucose molecules together to store in your muscles for daytime energy, that extra assembly step takes a lot of effort, which means you burn more calories just sitting there eating breakfast than you do eating late-night snacks.
To put this into perspective, Dr. Michael Greger's research reveals a super compelling breakdown. If you eat a 1,200-calorie meal in the morning, your body uses about 300 calories just doing the hard work of digestion. But if you eat that exact same 1,200-calorie meal at night, your body only uses about 200 calories to process it. That leaves you with 100 fewer net calories stored in your body simply because you ate the meal at breakfast instead of dinner. Over weeks and months, that timing alone can have a massive impact on your weight. So let's look at the waistline impact, specifically focusing on some really fascinating evidence from the Dushkovska study. Just look at the stark contrast here. When researchers looked at late eaters, meaning those consuming dinner after 9 p.m., a staggering 67% were overweight and suffered from metabolic conditions. Compare that to the early eaters, where only 22% were overweight, and amazingly, they reported absolutely zero metabolic diseases. Zero. That is a huge difference.
The reality is, eating past 9 p.m. drastically spikes your BMI and significantly bumps up your risk for some serious metabolic issues. We are talking about elevated cholesterol, fatty liver disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Basically, the later the meal, especially when it's close to your body's natural melatonin onset, the more you induce what researchers call circadian misalignment. And that directly leads to higher blood sugar spikes and completely altered fat storage.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the stress and gut connection, which is, quite frankly, a dangerous combination.
Dr. Harika Dedagiri perfectly captures this specific danger. She explains that chronic stress already messes with our normal digestion, right? We kind of know that. But when you compound that stress by eating late at night, you deliver a devastating double hit to your digestive system. It's not just what you're eating while you're stressed out, but exactly when you are eating it that amplifies the damage through the gut-brain axis.
To put some numbers to this, data from the massive American Gut Project reveals that individuals with high stress levels who also have late-night eating habits are 2.5 times more likely to suffer from severe bowel problems. 2.5 times. We're talking about significant increases in uncomfortable issues like constipation and diarrhea, alongside a measurable physical reduction in the actual diversity of their healthy gut bacteria.
Moving right along, let's look at why late suppers steal your sleep, totally disrupting the body's recovery process.
Okay, so eating late forces your body to work major overtime when it should be resting. First off, it keeps your gastrointestinal tract totally awake, requiring increased blood flow. This physical effort naturally raises your core body temperature, but here's the catch. Your body actually needs to cool down to initiate deep sleep. Furthermore, eating late delays the secretion of melatonin, which is your primary sleep hormone. And if your late meal was carb-heavy, you risk a midnight blood sugar crash. That triggers cortisol, causes frequent wake-ups, and completely robs you of that highly valuable REM sleep. But hey, don't worry, I know all of this can sound a little bit overwhelming. As Dr. Daguirre reminds us, nobody is acting as the ice cream police here. She says, and I love this, everyone should eat their ice cream, maybe preferably earlier in the day. An occasional late meal isn't going to completely destroy your health, for sure. The goal here is simply to be aware of how our bodies actually function so we can make better structural choices most of the time.
So how do we fix this? Let's talk about aligning with your clock and go over some actionable steps for better digestion. To get our circadian rhythms back on track, we just need to establish a few small, really consistent habits. First, be mindful of caffeine. Try to cut it out after midday because its half-life can easily bleed right into your evening rest. Second, give your body a strict 2 to 3 hour digestion buffer before your head hits the pillow. Just close the kitchen. And finally, if you absolutely must eat late, avoid the big, heavy, carb-loaded meals. Try to shift your largest caloric intake to breakfast or lunch when your internal factory is fired up and ready to use that fuel efficiently. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider how adjusting your schedule tomorrow might unlock better digestion, deeper sleep, and a much healthier metabolism. By simply working with your body's biological factory, rather than forcing it to work the graveyard shift, you can completely transform your health. Thank you so much for exploring this incredibly fascinating topic with me today. Be sure to check out the clinic resources up on the screen right now. And as you plan the rest of your day, I leave you with this one question. What time will you be having dinner tonight?